Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Boy, a lot to consume here as far as information and what has transpired just in the last 24 hours, let alone the last week. But I posed this question to staunch supporters of Donald Trump. I posed this question to Republicans out there that are calling this whole situation a nothing burger. What more evidence do you want? What more do you want? We clearly have evidence of a cover-up by the White House and members of the administration. We have the president that we know right now, and we're going to get more information as it comes in if you need more information, but we know the president of the United States asked for a favor from the Ukrainian president days before withholding financial aid to get dirt on Joe Biden and his son. And by the way, whether Joe Biden and his son are guilty or not, and by the way, there's no evidence to show that Joe Biden did anything wrong. But even if he did do something wrong, it doesn't change the fact of that transcript and what Donald Trump said. He asked for a favor and dirt on his political opponent, period. It doesn't matter what Joe Biden and his son did. It makes no difference to this conversation. And Republicans want to talk about the Bidens. It's completely academic to what we're talking about now. Donald Trump is the president. Donald Trump is the one that spoke to the Ukrainian president and asked him for a quote-unquote favor. Donald Trump is the one that asked an investigation into his political opponent, Joe Biden. Make no mistake about it, this wasn't Pete Buttigieg he was talking about. This wasn't Bill de Blasio. You know, this wasn't somebody that wasn't going to be eventually running toe-to-toe against Donald Trump. This was Joe Biden, his biggest political opponent, his biggest fear that he could lose the election in 2020. It is in the transcript. Make no mistake about it. So I ask you Republicans out there, how on earth can you call this a nothing burger? The evidence is right there. It's right there for you to see. And Bill, and make no mistake about it, Barr is a part of this. They held on to this for several weeks trying to figure out how they could put this story under the rug. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a domino effect. Donald Trump is not the only one, in my opinion, that's going to go down for this. There are members of his administration, and it is going to be a domino effect. Barr's reputation will forever be tarnished, but I've been saying this for months that Barr has acted as Donald Trump's personal attorney. The number to call, 257-5396. We'll take some calls on this. Let's start with Mike. Mike, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I never use an ad hominem attack, so I won't start now. But why anybody would have Michael Avenatti on as a guest, as a credible guest?
Okay, I'll answer that.
Me.
Okay, now let me answer that, Mike. I'll gladly answer why. First of all, Michael Avenatti has over $1 billion of cases that he has won. That's number one. Number two, he has never been convicted of a crime. That's number two. Number three, like it or not, he happens to be an extremely intelligent individual and well-spoken. That's number three. Number four, this is the man who's gone after Donald Trump for over a decade. So if he knows Donald Trump and people around his circle, there's no better person to talk to than Michael Avenatti. So there's your answer, Mike. Would you like to refute that?
Yeah, I will. I had the pleasure of being front row at Politicon last year with him and Kathy Griffin, and he is one of the most vulgar, vile individuals.
Would you say that about Donald Trump? Would you say that about Donald Trump? Would you say Donald Trump is one of the most vulgar, vile individuals?
No, but
No, of course not. Of course not.
Let me give you the negatives. Let me finish. I would say that I don't like his personality, and I am a lifelong Democrat through 2008.
So you don't like his personality?
Donald Trump's policies over Hillary Clinton in 2000.
All right, I don't care about your voting record. You were going after one. You're going. No, I don't. You're going after one of my guests, and all you've said is he's vulgar. You think he's vulgar. I will. Would you like me to repeat what I just said?
There's smoke. There's fire. He's been accused.
What has he been convicted of? What has he been convicted of? What has he been
from paraplegic?
What has he been convicted of? What has he been convicted of? Answer the question.
I don't have the list of the
You're damn right I have you there. And, I'm so sorry you think he's so vulgar. Mike, you sound like a Republican snowflake.
I'm not a Republican.
So you haven't given me one legitimate reason. Do you disagree with anything he said? Why don't we talk about the actual segment? What did he say in that 25-minute segment that you completely disagree with, that you would discredit? Go ahead.
I would disagree. I would discredit the importance of the money that Hunter Biden actually did receive.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if Hunter Biden. Doesn't matter if Hunter Biden is guilty and he took $1 billion. It doesn't change the fact of that conversation and what Donald Trump said to the Ukrainian president. Completely academic to the conversation.
Well, I would say that, and I'd also say that Joe Biden is not the number one candidate against Donald Trump.
Okay, is he a top 2 or a top 3?
I would say no. I think the guy is.
All right.
Is in very
Thank you, Mike.
poor health, physically and mentally.
Okay, Mike. All right. Thank you for the phone call. I think you're a little bit too vulgar to call in, but I appreciate the phone call. 257-5396. You don't like somebody because you don't like their politics. You try to discredit somebody because you don't like what side they're on. There's nothing more I can't stand about people than doing that. He doesn't like the politics of Michael Avenatti. Do you find it interesting? Donald Trump isn't vulgar, according to him. No, Donald Trump is just fine old dandy. But Michael Avenatti is vulgar. No, I'll tell you something. Michael Avenatti tells it like it is, and you just don't like it. 257-5396. Let's go to Marge. Marge, what's going on? Marge, are you there? I think we lost Marge. 257-5396. Let's go to John. John, what's going on?
Quick things, then I'll let you guys go. But my question to you is, you guys have Avenatti on this show, I don't know, 2-3 times a month or 1 month. I'm not really too sure.
Usually on a weekly basis.
Okay, a weekly basis. Now, for 1.5 years, I listened to Avenatti on CNN tell me that Donald Trump is going down in this rape case with Kavanaugh. He says he's got all the information.
I never spoke to him about that. Never spoke to him about that.
Okay, but why did he say it on CNN? He had me believing.
Well, you'll have to ask him that question.
Guilty.
I'm not here to. I'm not going to answer that.
Let me finish, then you could tell me what you want to tell me.
I can't tell you anything about it. I've never talked to him about that.
Well, why don't you talk to him about it on air? And
guess what? I'll answer. Okay, good. I'll answer it.
And millions of people.
Okay, I'll answer your question.
That Kavanaugh was going down for
because
rape.
If you haven't noticed, John, in the last several days, there's kind of a big story involving Donald Trump, and it has nothing to do with rape, and it has everything to do with what is going on with the Ukrainian president.
Your guest you had on.
Yeah, and I'm talking about, and I'm talking about what is going on the last several days. I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Why would Avenatti, anybody believe what he just told me in the last 20 minutes driving down the highway?
John, are you a Republican?
A year and a half ago.
John, let me ask you a question. Are you a Trump supporter?
No, I'm not. I'm not a Democrat.
Are you a Republican?
Or a Republican.
Okay, so you don't think that I should be talking to Michael Avenatti on the air, someone who has been an attorney for decades, who's gone after Donald Trump many a times before the Stormy Daniels situation. He has over $1 billion in settlements. He happens to be an extremely intelligent individual, but you don't think I should talk to him about this Donald Trump? You don't think I should talk to him? I'm not finished.
Do you know of any attorneys that lie?
Do I know any? That's the dumbest question I've ever had in the history of 20 years of radio.
Do you know if any attorneys lie?
Do I really have to answer that question? That is a dumb question.
Michael Avenatti is a liar. He told me millions of people on CNN,
all right.
he had information that was going to put Kavanaugh behind bars.
Well, John, guess what? I think you're a liar. Some of my callers lie, so that must mean you lie. Have a nice day. What a dumb question. Have any attorneys lied? Well, because if attorneys have lied in the history of attorneys, Michael Avenatti must be lying. You see these dumb statements that people say that call in? It's just ridiculous. 257-5396. Let's go to Eric. Eric, I believe you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on, Eric?
Yeah, I had a question. I'm assuming you read the transcript of the call with the Ukraine.
It's not necessarily a transcript, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you said he threatened to withhold aid. Could you quote that for me?
When did I say? When did I say in the transcript it said threaten to hold aid? Do you have some wax in your ears? I've never said that ever.
Why did you say that then?
I'll tell you exactly what I said. So please listen carefully instead of putting words in my mouth. A couple days before the conversation, he withheld money. I didn't say he did it 100% for that reason, but I think it's fair to say you can make the assessment or the allegation that you can put 2 and 2 together. Money was never discussed in the transcript. I never said that on the air, and you're making stuff up, Eric. So would you like to make up something else?
Yeah.
Please do. Yeah, please do. Go ahead. Now you're gonna try to disparage Michael Avenatti. Get off the show. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Bill. Bill, what's going on?
Yeah, I voted for conservative. I voted for Trump. I'm conservative. I talked to you previously. There seems to be a pattern with Donald Trump in the fact that, from the get-go, he blew up James Madison, John Kelly, okay? Maybe one of them guys got disillusioned with him, but not both of them. Now he throws Attorney General's name out there in the Ukraine conversation, as well as Giuliani's, and it seems he could be throwing them under the bus. I don't think, honestly, this is going to stop. I personally think this is a pattern of behavior, and
Sure.
like a lot of people, I admitted I voted for him, but people are going to really get sick of this because you don't bring up the guy's name there that's running opposite you. Any 2-year-old would know. You don't bring his name up.
Bill, listen, you make a lot of valid points there. You know what? There's 2 people, though. You talked about getting sick of this. I'm going to tell you, Bill, and you'll probably agree with me on this one. If 2 people are sick of this, Trump's out the door in a heartbeat. And we're talking about Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham. If they finally take a turn on Donald Trump, this is over, right? This is done, Bill, right?
I think the only thing he did, having solace, Trump, he put a guy as a vice president that's exact opposite of him. I know you might not you would agree with him, but he's, as white as the driven snow as some people would say they would vote for him. I think that's the only reason he put him in. So if he would screw up, he would have this guy in that they can't really get anything bad on Gerald Ford, because it just, I wish to God it would stop. I don't really think it's going to stop.
I don't think so either. No, Bill, make no mistake about it. You're absolutely right. This is not going to stop. And I think this is going to be the demise of Donald Trump. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Marge. Marge, what's going on?
Hi, I didn't hang up on you. Something happened with the phone.
That's okay. What's going on, Marge?
Well, first of all, I have to congratulate you on getting Michael in this morning, because he's usually not on Friday. So, and I appreciate his insight. I think the whole thing about McConnell and Lindsey Graham is very critical. But don't forget that, he's got McConnell's wife in a cabinet position. So I think they're pretty tight, at least for now.
Yeah.
And what really scared me, and you brought this up this morning, was the fact that, he talked about what they do to spies, before. Kind of reminds me of an old gangster movie or something where you just take them out, basically.
Yeah.
And the fact that he wants to know the names of the people that talk to whoever the whistleblower is.
Yeah, intimidation.
That's really, really scary. Firstly, I think he's kind of stupid in the fact that he just got through this whole thing with Russia. He's been successful in some aspects of things going forward for him, and now he does something this way.
Yeah. Marge, you're right.
Thinks he's invincible.
Well, guess what? He thinks he's invincible, but I think, Marge, he's going to learn very soon he's not invincible. Marge, always good to hear from you. Thank you for the phone call. So we have our producer, Jason Stein, in studio. Jason has a little bit of an update for us. Jason, what you got?
Well, I'm just, I'm searching the internet during the show like I always do, and I'm noticing there are more cracks, coming out on the Republican side. I mean, Avenatti mentioned it. Mitch McConnell still supporting Trump. He's obviously a very powerful man. Lindsey Graham still supporting Trump. Most of Fox News supporting Trump. But there are cracks. I mean, Chris Wallace, for example, the spinning, this is a quote from Chris Wallace of Fox News. The spinning that has been done by the president's defenders over the past 24 hours since this damaging whistleblower complaint came out, the spinning is astonishing and I think deeply misleading. That's Chris Wallace. You now have 2 Republican governors from the Northeast that are the first state executives to come out and support the inquiry. Governor Phil Scott of Vermont says, I think the inquiry is important, yes. Where it leads from here is going to be driven by the facts that are established. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker also saying, based on the stuff that I've read, it's deeply disturbing situation and circumstance, and I think the proper role and responsibility for Congress is to investigate. That comes, of course, after Mitt Romney's comments the other day. He called it deeply troubling. You've got Senator John Thune, I think of South Dakota, saying not a fan. This is news today, not a fan of the way Trump went about that phone call. So I think that's going to be moving forward. A really important thing to watch is if some of that Republican support in Congress and in the media falls away a little bit.
Yes, and thank you for that update. And I will say this, every day we're going to get more and more names, Jason. More and more people on the right are going to come forward as more and more evidence comes forward, and hopefully they will have the courage to speak out as those have. 257-5396. Let's go to Stephen. Stephen, what's going on?
Hello?
Yes, Stephen, you're on with us. What's up?
Oh, okay, great. I didn't hear the beep. I'm sorry.
No problem.
I wanted to join Devin Nunes, the former chairman of the Oversight and Reform Senate Subcommittee. I have a quote here in front of me, and I want to join him in congratulating the Democrats. And that's what his quote starts with. I want to congratulate the Democrats on the rollout of their latest information warfare operation against the president and their extraordinary ability to once again enlist the mainstream media. I think that's what this reason that stuff like this is happening.
Stephen, can I ask you something though? I mean, because I've always thought Devin Nunes is a complete brown noser for the president who suffers from Trump fellatio syndrome. I mean, Nunes has never said one negative thing about a Republican. Certainly has never said one negative thing about Donald Trump. And I think he's one of the most least credible people in all of Congress and politicians throughout the planet. That's my opinion of Nunes. I think he's a weasel.
That may be true, Brian. I wouldn't argue that.
Yep.
And I think that it perfectly exemplifies what the reason Jefferson and Washington both warned us against parties.
Right. No, you're right.
I think if we got rid of all the parties and whoever wins an election,
you're so right.
Throw a big party.
Stephen, you are so right.
I'm a libertarian.
Yes.
I believe in rights.
Yeah.
If Trump doesn't have any rights, then very quickly I won't have any rights.
Well, Stephen,
and you won't have any rights either, Brian.
Stephen, I look at it like this, and I've talked about the two worst words in this country are Republican and Democrat. And the reason why I say that is because people care more about what is best for their party rather than what is best for the country. We've seen it from both sides, Stephen. And I think it's kind of like if I'll use a sports analogy. Let's just say maybe you're a Lakers fan and a Celtics fan. That's the way people treat politics. You just root for your team. I'm talking about just Republicans and Democrats that are not even in office. You're just rooting for your team and you're attacking the other team, and you'll do anything and say anything to hurt the other team. That's what Republicans and Democrats do, but make no mistake about it, Stephen. I think this is a different scenario. Is this going to hurt Republicans? Yes. Is this going to hurt Donald Trump and possibly impeach him? Yes. But this needs to be out there. And if it was a Democrat in office, and if it was a Democrat that was president of the United States, for example, if Obama did something like this, which he never did, by the way, but if he did, I would be saying the exact same thing. I want to hear all the evidence, and I want it all to come forward. 257-5396. Let's go to Jim. Jim, what's going on?
Very rarely do I call in, but I wanted to make it a point to call in. I'm not going to keep you on the phone that long. I want your listeners to listen and listen good. Speaking from experience, I spent 48 months in Lompoc Federal Penitentiary. I was a political fundraiser for 30 years. The DOJ, the Department of Justice, and this is what they did to Michael Avenatti, parallel to me. I want your listeners to understand this. Michael Avenatti was targeted. He was targeted. Now, when Avenatti's targeted, and I hope Michael is listening, now they send out the investigators. They're going to go through his files, educate, and they're going to distort all the people that were clients. Now they threaten his clients. Now his clients suddenly have amnesia, and they start saying things that Michael didn't do, and they make him say, well, he did this. And that's exactly why Avenatti was indicted.
You are 150% correct. Yep.
I'm going to make it quick so I can get to the other callers.
Sure, go ahead.
I was indicted under the Bush administration. I was a political lobbyist, and I was a political fundraiser in the D.C. area. I'm from Montgomery County. The biggest clients I've had were the American Federation of State and County Municipal Employees in Newark, Delaware. I know Joe Biden. I don't understand well, I do understand it because I understand the deflection of it all. Joe Biden's not a rich man. People don't understand that.
Right.
That's why Obama had to give Joe Biden money as a gesture to pay off his house.
Right.
They're throwing around billions of dollars. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Jim, I'm going to tell you something. I would rather trust somebody that doesn't have money than trust somebody that does. I mean, I know, especially when it comes to politics.
But your listeners have to understand something. They don't understand unless you've been through the system.
Right.
Through the Bureau of Prisons, the Department of Justice.
But Jim,
Department of Justice
Jim, I understand. Jim, let me just say something real quick. And by the way, thank you for your story. I understand. I've had private conversations with Michael Avenatti. But Jim, do you know why many of these people refuse to understand? Because they don't like Michael Avenatti's politics. They just don't like the things he says on radio and on TV. They don't like the fact they've gone after his all-star boy, Donald Trump. Jim, they refuse to listen. They refuse to listen to people like you that are logical. That's why.
Listen, unless you've been through it and you've sat in a federal prison camp like me, and you rewind and you see how the Department of Justice operates. And if Michael's listening, I'm going to give Michael a little piece of advice. Michael, please take a deal, even though if you're not guilty, take the 52 months because they got it in for you, and they're going to take you to court, and you're going to end up like Blagojevich.
Well, I don't know.
52 months. Go
I don't know.
teach GED and get out in 4 years. It's going to happen to him.
Well, I don't know.
Unfortunately, in the sad fact, they're gunning for him, and that's the only reason why they investigated him.
Well, I'm not saying you're wrong, Jim.
He was a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
And he was on Fox News and CNN or MSNBC, that they would have went after him? Absolutely no way.
No, and I understand where you're coming. By the way, Jim, I appreciate your story and I appreciate the phone call, and I'm sorry that happened to you. But let me say this, okay? The reason why, and you're right, by the way, make no mistake about it. I've had private conversations with Avenatti on multiple occasions when it comes to this stuff. But make no mistake about it. If he hadn't gone after Donald Trump, and he wasn't one of the main people responsible for putting Michael Cohen behind bars, he would not be in the situation he's in now. Now, I know some specific details about certain things involved with his cases that I'm not going to talk about on the air. But I'll tell you this about Michael Avenatti. He's a fighter. I do not believe that is going to happen. I personally believe he's going to fight through all this stuff. You won't find a bigger fighter than Michael. And the reason why many people, and there's been a few people that have called in that said, why do you have Michael Avenatti on your show? But if it was somebody that praised Donald Trump, if it was somebody that was wearing the Donald Trump knee pads like those on social media, like those on television, like the Tucker Carlsons of the world, like the Laura Ingrams of the world, that say that this whole situation with the Ukraine is a nothing burger, wouldn't have a problem with that, right? It doesn't matter if they have zero credibility. It doesn't matter if the person talking about Donald Trump, like Tucker Carlson, said that white supremacy, the idea of it is a hoax. That's okay. But we don't want to hear from Michael Avenatti. Yeah, because he's quote-unquote vulgar. You want to talk about laughable. The people that call Michael Avenatti vulgar are the people that would go to Donald Trump to church. And it is sad, and it is a joke. We are going to take more of your phone calls on the other side of the break. Please be patient with me. Carl, John, Matt, Lewis, Ron, Brady. Get to all your calls on the other side. We have one phone line open, 257-5396. Again, that number if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-257-5396. We will take a quick break. More of your calls coming back. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is The Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah, back at you on a Friday. It is The Vegas Take. So glad you could join us. Boy, do we have a lot to get to in these next few hours. Trust me, we do. We heard about this Aurora Theater, where the tragic shooting happened and so many lost their lives. We're going to talk to Caitlin Bailey, who was in that theater. The reason why is because they're not playing the new Joker movie in there. How does she feel about that? How do you feel about that? We'll talk about that coming up in hour number 2. We got the news coming up here in a little bit. Hillary Clinton, by the way, is speaking out on this, and I wish she would go away. Yes, that's right. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton. I despise the woman. She said Trump is a corrupt human tornado. Listen, if there's anybody that should not be talking about corruption, it's Hillary Clinton. Hillary, will you just go away? You're not going to be a politician anymore. Just go away. You're not helping the Democratic Party by speaking out. Go away, Hillary. Don't come back. Why is she even talking about this stuff? For God's sake, she's the main reason why Donald Trump is the president, because she was such a horrible candidate. Screw you, Hillary. Just be quiet. Put tape over her mouth. Just stop talking. You're not helping anybody. By the way, Donald Trump has just said, quote, we are at war. No, he doesn't mean a war overseas. He doesn't mean a war that involves soldiers. He says we are at war when talking about the Democrats. Let me tell you something. Just like I just said, Hillary is the last person to talk about corruption. Donald Trump is the last person to talk about war. Mr. Bone Spurs himself, who dodged the military. You know what war is to Donald Trump? Filing bankruptcy. That's what a war is to Donald Trump. You know what war is to Donald Trump? Filing a non-disclosure agreement after banging a porn star. That's war to Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't know what real war is. Donald Trump isn't a hero. He's a coward. But to Donald Trump, this is war. Hillary Clinton talking about corruption, and Donald Trump saying this is war. You see where I'm getting at, folks? The left and the right. These are the last two people that should be talking about these issues. And let me just be clear here before we take some more phone calls at 257-5396. And I didn't vote for Hillary, and I didn't vote for Donald Trump. But when Donald Trump was elected and he had that meeting with Barack Obama, I said to myself, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about this. It seems like Donald Trump has toned it down a little bit. I thought he was going to change. And I said to myself, let's all root for Donald Trump. And believe it or not, I was behind Donald Trump because I wanted him to succeed. Because if Donald Trump succeeds, guess who succeeds? The country. We all succeed if Donald Trump succeeds. I really, truly, in my heart, wanted him to do well. And I said to myself, you know what? We've seen that apprentice personality. He was trying to get votes. Well, guess what? It worked. He's now the president. And I thought that this rhetoric would settle down. I didn't think he was dumb enough to do some of the things he's done. I didn't think he was dumb enough to talk to a president from another country to try to get dirt on a political opponent. I really didn't. I didn't think this man was that stupid. So for all those people out there that want to say how smart this guy is, how smart is he now? How smart do you think Donald Trump is now? When he knows that he's on a conversation with another president, he knows that there are multiple people that are listening on both ends of the phone call, and he talks about getting dirt on Joe Biden, his political opponent. How dumb do you have to be as an individual? The guy was given a $500 million company by his late father. Stop it with the wonderful businessman. You know, is he savvy when it comes to the media? Yes. Did he get ratings on television? Yes. Does he know how to manipulate the media? Yes. Doesn't mean he's Einstein. Okay, this isn't Donald Trump, Mr. Einstein. This isn't Donald Trump, Mr. 148 IQ. Make no mistake about it. This man is an idiot. Because an idiot would go on the other side of a phone call as the president of the United States and do something like this. You know what this reminds me of? This is almost as bad as if, like, you're dating a girl and you go on a three-way conversation with your side piece and you don't want your girl finding out about it. That's how dumb this is. Really, I make that correlation. That's how dumb Donald Trump is. You don't want your girlfriend to find out that you're cheating on her, but you accidentally, maybe, or even on purpose, I don't know, go on a three-way conversation, only you can't file a non-disclosure like Donald Trump did with Stormy Daniels. That's the difference. That's how dumb this guy is. Make no mistake about it, Donald Trump is no smart human being by any stretch of the imagination. He is a naive, narcissistic moron who just doesn't understand that there are rules and there are laws in place. He doesn't understand that. We'll take some phone calls at 257-5396. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis, what's going on?
Hey, man, look, it's your show, obviously, and you can put on whoever you want. And, you know, unless you've been in the system or know how the system works in any way, shape, or form, it's very easy to say. But you know what? The system we have is the system we have. Michael Avenatti has been indicted on perjury and tax fraud.
And what has he been convicted of?
He's indicted.
And what has he been convicted of?
Sir,
what has he been convicted of? Sir, what has he been convicted of?
Nothing.
Thank you. Okay, move on. Next subject.
Well, right.
No,
But
next subject. No, I'm not talking about Michael Avenatti. Next subject. Let's talk about Donald Trump, sir.
Okay. But if I can finish my point before you finish. Okay?
No, I'm not here to talk about Michael Avenatti. We had Michael Avenatti on the show. If you don't like him as a guest, then you don't have to listen. Next subject.
That's right. But he's an alleged liar and tax fraud until his case is settled.
You're an alleged liar. Next conversation. I don't care what your opinion is of Michael Avenatti. Let's talk about Donald Trump.
We have you just said.
Make no mistake about it. I care about your opinion of Michael Avenatti like I care about my last bathroom visit. Can I make myself clear? Now let's talk about Donald Trump, or I'm going to hang up on you and we're going to get to the next caller, Lewis, okay? We know you're biased. We know you're biased. We know you're a Donald Trump. You know you have Donald Trump. No, we know you have Donald Trump knee pads, okay? We understand you're way to the right and you don't like Michael Avenatti's politics. Either talk about Donald Trump or I'm going to move on to the next caller, okay, Mr. Knee Pad Man?
That's where I'm getting at.
Oh, well, you haven't made sense yet. I don't care what he hasn't been convicted of a crime. Next topic.
Okay, no, what I'm going to get to you to is the whistleblower. He's not a whistleblower because it was hearsay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In our system.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lewis.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just testing out my whistles. I'm sorry. You wanted to bring up Michael Avenatti to start the program. So, you know.
We're past that. I'm trying to move on to the whistleblower.
Okay, let's go on to the next caller. 257-5396. I'm sorry, that was the Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm a big Curb Your Enthusiasm fan. Do we have Larry David on the line next? No. Okay. 257-5396. Let's go to Carl. Carl, what's going on?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
You don't want to talk about Michael Avenatti, do you, Carl?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Thank you.
No. You mentioned earlier when you first came on about the reference Trump made to spies, about what we should do to them, or what they did do to them, or whatever. As you know, I was trained to listen. It's what people say. It's his dictatorial tendencies coming out. People can't hide that. That's what he wants. He wants, like Putin or the head of North Korea, anybody who disagrees with them, to be executed.
Yeah, no, you're right. And, it's one of those things where he doesn't understand it. And Avenatti did make this very clear. That's tampering with witnesses. There's no question about it.
And the final point is not to talk about Avenatti, but you asked him, well, do you think he'll go to prison for this? Well, let me explain something to you. I'm a genius. No, I'm tongue-in-cheek. I'm saying that. But I'm very psychic, though.
You're smarter than the last caller, Carl. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Well, my dog is, yeah. But listen.
Must be a Cocker Spaniel.
Listen, what he's really afraid of, Trump, is not the federal charges. It's New York state charges.
Correct.
Tax fraud, bank fraud,
you're right.
Whatever. He's going to go to prison, and he probably will, and if he does, it's going to be for state charges, which nobody can help him with.
No, you're right, Carl. You bring up a really good point there, and certainly the charges are pertaining to New York. Those are huge. Listen, it's not just about this whistleblowers. There's just a lot of other stuff going on with Donald Trump as well. 257-5396 if you want to be a part of the program. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you're next. What's up?
Well, I've got a challenge for you.
Uh-oh.
Some of the best radio that's ever happened in this valley was when you and Chris Wynn and J.D. Sharp interviewed Mark Levin.
Well, I enjoyed interviewing Mark.
Yeah, and you guys were perfect gentlemen together.
And I think he enjoyed it as well.
I know he did. Yeah, he's talked about it, and so I'm going to challenge you to have him come on and talk about this thing that's happening right now.
I would absolutely love to get into a debate with Mark Levin about this. Make no mistake about it. The only issue with that, Brian, is he was on a book tour, and all we can do is put in the request. We can't force him to do it, but we would gladly listen. Anybody that's on this network, I'd love to have, Sean Hannity. I mean, I would absolutely love to get into a conversation with Hannity, Levin. And, to Levin's credit, he was a gentleman to us as well, and it was a great conversation, and I really enjoyed talking to him. And I enjoyed his book, too.
Yeah, it was excellent. And the other thing I'd like to say is, Michael Avenatti is a sharp guy, and I've called in and asked him questions.
And he gave you respectful answers.
Yeah, he did, and vice versa. And
I agree. You've always been respectful to him as well.
What I would like to do is challenge you and JD, ask him a few of his sources, because everybody keeps saying that Biden's been investigated over these allegations about his son and what he said on videotape. And stuff.
Here's what I can say, Brian.
True.
Brian, here's what I can say. And I can only say so much here in my private conversations with Michael Avenatti.
Sure.
And I can't release everything that I know right now, but I will say this. He has tremendous inside information on this whistleblower. I can't elaborate on that, but he has tremendous information. That's all I can say right now. Put two and two together, but that's all I can say, Brian. And trust me, I would not say that unless it was true.
And I want to point you and JD to an article at thehill.com by John Solomon about Mr. Biden. He's got documentary information from the Ukraine. He's been investigating this for 2 years. He's the only investigative reporter that I'm aware of that really knows anything about what happened with Biden and his son over there. And again, one other thing that you're doing is you keep saying that Donald Trump told them that he wants dirt on him. He never said that in the
He didn't use the term dirt, but I think you can put
That's not what he was after. And if he wanted dirt, he wouldn't be having the AG talk to their
So
AG.
you don't think Brian, you don't think it's kind of a coincidence that the person he decides to bring up as far as corruption or alleged corruption happens to be most likely the person that is going to run against Donald Trump in 2020. You don't think sending Giuliani out there And that's what it is. Make no mistake about it. This is getting dirt on Joe Biden. It's not like all of a sudden Donald Trump woke up in the morning one day and said, you know what? I want to get all these politicians out there for corruption. No, make no mistake about that. I know you're a logical guy, Brian. I know you're a smart guy, and I know you don't believe that. You absolutely know that part of this has to do with the fact that he sees Joe Biden as a threat in 2020. You have to know that.
I disagree that he sees him as a threat. In fact, if you could pick out the perfect candidate for Donald Trump to run against, it would be Joe Biden.
Okay, but that is the guy that is probably...
And so, I understand what you're saying, and there is some truth to that. But on the other hand, is I see both him and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders as dream candidates for Trump. They're salivating over all three of those people.
Well, listen, I've said it before that I thought Donald Trump was going to win in 2020, but I'll tell you something right now, Brian, and by the way, I appreciate the phone call. I don't think he's going to make it to 2020. That's my opinion. Thank you for the call, and thank you for the kind words. I would love to get Mark Levin back on the show. I enjoyed speaking with him, and I think he enjoyed speaking with us, and I would love to get into a nice debate with him about this issue. I'll talk to anyone on the right or the left about this issue. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Mike. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, Brian.
What's up, Mike?
So you're a fair person, right?
I would like to think myself as fair-minded, yes.
Okay. Because listening to all the news that you're giving out this morning.
Okay, I need you to speak. I need you to speak up because we're kind of hard hearing you. Speak into it a little bit more. Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Can you hear me now?
That's a lot better. Thank you, Mike. Go ahead.
All right. So listening to you this morning about all the news that you're giving out, I never hear you talk about what's his name, the shift guy.
What about him?
That lie.
Mm-hmm.
He was lying to the on the TV yesterday.
Are you referring to the speech he made?
Yeah. I mean, he told her to make up stories.
He explained to it, and by the way, I don't agree with him. You're talking about the speech he made in front of Congress. He added some things there, and he said it was sort of a parody. That is the word that he used. I don't agree.
Not the way he looked. Dude,
okay.
He looked the way he looked.
Okay, so let me be clear. So let me be clear on this. I don't agree with what he did. I don't think that helps the Democrats' cause. But I don't believe that is even close to the same offense of what Donald Trump did on the phone with the Ukrainian president. That's why I haven't taken an hour and a half to talk about the comments that Schiff made yesterday.
All right, and I heard that you say a lot of stuff about our president, the president of the United States, but if there's a saying that actions speak louder than words. You see a lot of the hotel belongs to him. He's a rich man. My question is,
so what?
He donates his salary. He doesn't
so
work
what?
So what I'm telling you, talk crap about him, but
so let me make it clear.
Anything.
First of all, I don't know what that means. I don't have anything.
You don't have anything.
What do you mean I don't have anything? We have a transcript. What are you talking about?
You don't have anything.
So because
bro.
he's a rich,
you only have a radio
so
station,
because he's a rich man, that means we can't be critical of him, and he can do whatever he wants to.
He does a lot for America. You see the evidence.
Let me be very clear. He could have donated $1 billion to charity, and we could have the best economy we've ever had in the country. It still wouldn't. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish. It still wouldn't excuse his actions and behaviors over the phone with the Ukrainian president. It is cut and dry, Mike, and you don't want to talk about that. Instead, you want to talk about Schiff. And by the way, you want to say I have a radio show. What does that mean? So because I don't have the money that Donald Trump has, and I haven't filed bankruptcy like he has, and I haven't banged a porn star and then paid her $120,000 to keep her mouth shut, what does that mean? Does that mean Donald Trump is a better man than me because all I have is a radio show? You just lost all credibility with that phone call. Zero credibility on your part. By the way, get a better phone. Get another phone. It sounds like you're on an Obama phone. Get another phone, okay? It's all scratchy. I can't even hear what you're saying. 257-5396. Let's go to Mark. Mark, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
And I agree with you, what you just said. Hey, but, just a couple quick points. Trump never filed personal bankruptcy. It's always been a business
I understand.
bankruptcy.
You're right.
There's a huge difference.
No, you're right. I'm just having fun with the caller. That's all.
Yeah, I understand that. And, to be honest with you, not to switch up here, but I just got on your show this week, and it's a very enjoyable show.
I appreciate
really
it.
like it.
Mark, your check is in the mail. I'll see if Donald Trump can lend me some money. Go ahead, Mark.
So when were talking about Donald Trump's rhetoric when he was on the campaign trail.
Correct.
I'll say this. The really only one thing that was rhetoric, and I personally believe he had a plan for it, was that Mexico was going to pay for the wall.
Correct. He campaigned on that.
Everything else, but everything else, okay, and I'm going to circle back to the wall, but all of his other campaign promises, I've been following politics since 1976, and this is one guy who actually kept his campaign promises.
But, okay, Mark,
there was another gentleman who said that he had 1 million shovel-ready jobs. Now, I can understand you want to get elected president, but when you're asked about it a year later at a dinner conference, and then you laugh about it.
Mark, I understand your point. I get your point, Mark, but let me just ask you this very basic question. What was the biggest campaign promise on the campaign trail for Donald Trump?
Well, he tried to reform Obamacare,
but
and if it wasn't for...
That was a promise.
Let me finish. If it wasn't for, and again, he didn't say he didn't like McCain. He said he didn't like people. He didn't circle them out. He said he didn't like ones that get captured.
He said he didn't respect. He used the term respect. He used the term respect, and that comment alone shows the character of Donald Trump.
Brian, it's kind of hard to respect McCain because he took that huge.
Whoa! Hold on a second. Hold on a second. No, I want you to. No, Mark. No, I can't let you finish now. You are actually making the claim that you are okay with Donald Trump running for president, saying he doesn't respect John McCain because he was a POW because he was captured. Mark, that is a disgrace.
That's not right. No, that's not right. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, that's not what I'm saying.
It sounds like
I am saying that during the campaign trail, he never mentioned him by name. That respect.
Mark, he was talking about John McCain. There's not one person on the planet that doesn't know that. He was talking about John McCain.
Hold on a second. One last thing. Politics are a very, very dirty.
You're making excuses for Donald Trump, and I'm really embarrassed by what you're saying. You're making excuses. You're saying, oh, politics are dirty, and he didn't mention John McCain by name, and you know what? He never really said this. We know what Donald Trump said, and this is the same person that dodged the military, Mark. Make no mistake about it. This is the same person that's a coward that said he had bone spurs that didn't serve in our military. If you don't like John McCain's politics, that's fine. But to go after John McCain's service and because he was captured, a man that never served himself, is a disgrace. And you're damn right you're making excuses, and that's deplorable. That's disgusting. Politics are dirty is not an excuse for going after a prisoner of war. Make no mistake about it, that is exactly what Donald Trump did, and that right there should have disqualified him from office, from running, in my personal opinion. But people like you make such low standards. They set the bar so low. Well, let's give the guy a break. Politics are dirty. Let's give the guy a break. He didn't actually mention John McCain's name. So if I say on the air right now the orange man is a dummy, well, I didn't really mention Donald Trump's name, so I can't be talking about Donald Trump. Absurd, ridiculous. We're going to get to the news coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.